If you're a franchisee and you're buying stores from corporate, you should watch this video. I'm going to give you some things to think about and some things to do. One of the things that's happening more and more right now is that franchisors are selling units that they control. This is a function of franchisors having taken back units that they control. Coming out of COVID, some franchise systems weren't doing so well, and franchisors did not have attractive candidates to take over the stores. And so the franchisors themselves took them back. Franchisors don't really want to be in the business of operating, so they're selling them back. And that is a whole different process than buying stores from another franchisee. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about one of the issues that we're seeing come along within that context, more and more. Used to be less of it, now there's more of it. It's one of those it's an example of what was old is new again. So when you're buying stores from corporate, you're going to get an asset purchase agreement, and it is not particularly negotiable. A lot of franchisors don't have people who've done much of this. And so you tend to get a lot of attorney-driven, not completely understood by that attorney's client, the franchisor, paperwork, and you're getting tight deadlines on due diligence review and not really getting a lot of access, and getting representations, being guaranteed that the sales are at a certain level, but none of the other costs. You might have to just deal with that. The antidote to that is giving them what they want. Okay, I can look at all that stuff, but that comes out in price. And so with reduced due diligence is increased risk. With increased risk, reduced price. If you're buying from corporate, you're already in the system. You know how the unit volumes work, you know how the costing works. You've got to be comfortable taking top line sales and plugging in your own unit costs. And that might be a little bumpy for a while as you make those course corrections with systems working inside the stores, because franchisors don't really operate. You're probably better than they are. And if they're good enough, they'll admit that. You're going to have to adjust staffing, whatever marketing might go on around the store. So you're gonna fix it. It's gonna take a little while, and that is gonna cost you in the form of revenue, which means you should pay less. One of the issues that comes up, we're seeing more and more. In the olden days, it used to be that most franchisors kind of did it like McDonald's. We're gonna own the real estate and lease it to you. And then when that started ending and they started selling the real estate, they're like, okay, we, franchisor, are going to lease the real estate from the landlord and we're going to sublease it to you. And then they started getting out of that. They just stopped doing it. It's called a sandwich lease because they are sandwiched between the landlord and you, the franchisee. Now in the context of acquisitions, we're seeing a lot more of that. A lot more franchisor wanting to have more control over the location. So they're giving you a sublease, they're cross-defaulting it with the franchise agreement, and they're just making it uncomfortable. And they're taking the landlord contact out of the loop. They want you to just deal with them on the site. And here's what I tell my clients generally. First, this really only works in a true triple net lease where you're doing everything. If you as the franchisee and as the subtenant in this case are making all the tax payments, you're carrying all the insurance, you're the one who's making the notices that it's going to get extended, then it works. And where you got to keep an eye on this, because where it breaks down is if you're relying on the franchisor as the sub-landlord to do things, or you're relying on the landlord to do things like make tax payments, but you don't have any direct contact with them, that's problematic. Keep an eye on things like insurance proceeds. If there's some kind of disaster, if there's some kind of event that creates the need to get an insurance payout, do you have control of that? Or does some landlord that you can't talk to get to have control of that? And your pushback on that is, hey, my lender's never going to tolerate that. My lender's never going to tolerate me just having insurance proceeds just go off in the ether with some landlord. I got to have some rights about that. And here, strap in, here's some attorney stuff, some attorney shit. If you can get the right to get an estoppel or a subordination and non-disturbance agreement, an SNDA, from the ultimate landlord that says when you buy it, hey, the lease is all good, there's no defaults. That's the estoppel. And then the SNDA itself says, hey, if the franchisor doesn't pay, if you pay the rent to the franchisor and then they turn around and pay rent to the landlord, they don't pay, and we default the lease, you, the subtenant, have the right to go around the the sub-landlord and just pay the landlord directly and keep your tenancy, keep the leasehold in place, that'll save you. And then if you're working with us, we're gonna take a look at like, I don't know, is there some way we can kind of wedge you in there so when the term ends, can we put you in place to take over the lease? That's tricky. I've done it a couple of times. If they're smart, they won't let me get away with it, but we'll take a look at whether we can do that. These are the things in the context of the acquisition of corporate stores and the new, like I said, what is old is new again. The resurrection of the sandwich lease in the context of large multi-brand franchise systems. In contemplating the acquisition of stores from the corporate franchisor, you got a couple of risks. First, you can't over-negotiate the deal. You don't have a lot of latitude. It is really, a lot of documentation is take it or leave it. The other risk is you might not know where the leverage points are. They're not intuitive. It's not like a regular deal. You can miss those points, and if you're getting handed a sublease where the franchisor is the sub-landlord, there are some things that if you don't do them, you will be less protected than if you had watched this video. There is one advantage to having the franchisor being your sub-landlord, which is it makes assignability much easier. When you go to sell, if the franchisee is qualified that's buying your stores, the franchisor has already approved them, and so they'll be able to slip into that sublease much easier than if there were actually a third-party landlord there. I will concede that that is better, but it's not worth all the other stuff. The other thing to consider in the acquisition of corporate stores from a franchisor is there are other things that they're going to ask of you, and those are going to be more negotiable. So to the extent that they're coming at you with a development deal that they want you to sign, they want you to develop more stores in the context of buying this, that's where you want to negotiate. Because they're not going to move much on the APA, so you're going to want to push them around on the development. Like, no, I'll buy these stores grab bag style like you're asking, but I got to have some latitude on the development track because I don't know how these stores are going to do because you won't let me find out. So I can't build one store a year for the next 10 years. It's got to be more spaced out, and I can't commit it. And if I'm signing a development agreement and it doesn't work out and I don't do it, can we get it so that is not cross-defaulted with your franchise agreements and your subleases? That's a tough one, but it is something to take a look at. And really, the timing of the cadence of those stores, that is where to look. One of the issues when you buy corporate stores is the franchisor doesn't necessarily look at it the same way a franchisee does in terms of like a franchisee-to-franchisee deal. Typically, corporate is going to say, okay, we'll approve this deal, franchisee-to-franchisee, so long as you do these improvements, so long as you make these upgrades, so long as you agree to remodel the store to X standards within a certain amount of time. This is another place to push back. Try to get them to give you the stores as finished as possible. They might not really think about that the same way as franchisees do. That budget is in a different bucket. They're not looking at it the same way as a franchise owner looks at it. And so you might get them to invest a little bit more in improvements than you otherwise would have if you're buying from a franchisee. So consider thinking about that. And this is the time, if you want more time on those franchise agreements, to get it. Okay, I'll buy these stores, but all the franchise agreements expire in 9 years. You gotta give me 20 years. You gotta trade that. Find the things to trade that aren't in the agreement itself, but that are ancillary to it.